When Extraction 2 was released in 2023, it did not arrive as a quiet sequel. It came back louder, harder, and far more ambitious than the first film. This movie continues the story of Tyler Rake, played by Chris Hemsworth, a Black Ops mercenary who survives missions that most soldiers would never return from. But this time, the story is not just about another dangerous rescue. It is about survival after death, redemption after failure, and purpose after loss. The first Extraction introduced audiences to a man who was physically unstoppable but emotionally broken. Tyler Rake was a professional at pulling targets out of impossible situations, yet he was haunted by the death of his own son. That grief shaped him. It made him reckless. It made him fearless. And it made him someone who did not care whether he lived or died. Extraction 2 begins by asking a powerful question. What happens to a man who already faced death and somehow lived through it? From the very beginning, this sequel makes it clear that Tyler is not the same. His body carries scars. His mind carries weight. He survived injuries that should have ended his life. Instead of celebrating survival, the film shows the painful recovery. He struggles to breathe. He struggles to move. He struggles to find meaning. This slower and more grounded opening gives the audience time to feel the cost of the previous mission. Survival is not glorious. It is painful. But the world of Extraction does not allow long rest. Very quickly, Tyler is pulled back into action. A new mission appears, and it is deeply personal. He is asked to rescue a woman and her 2 children from a violent Georgian crime syndicate. They are trapped inside a heavily guarded prison controlled by ruthless criminals. This is not just a rescue across borders. It is a rescue from inside a fortress filled with enemies who will kill without hesitation. What makes Extraction 2 stand out is how it raises the stakes without losing realism. The fights feel heavy. Every punch has weight. Every gunshot feels loud and dangerous. Tyler bleeds. He gets tired. He makes mistakes. The film avoids making him a superhero. Instead, it shows him as a trained soldier who survives because he refuses to quit. That grounded style keeps the tension high. You never feel completely safe. One of the most talked about elements of this movie is its massive long-take action sequence. There is an extended prison escape scene that appears to unfold in one continuous shot. The camera moves through narrow hallways, crowded prison yards, burning vehicles, rooftops, and brutal hand-to-hand fights without cutting away. It creates an intense experience. The audience does not feel like observers. They feel trapped inside the chaos alongside Tyler. But beneath the action, Extraction 2 carries emotional weight. This story is about family and responsibility. Tyler is no longer just completing a job for money. The mission connects to his ex-wife's sister, which forces him to confront his past and his failures. He is not simply fighting enemies. He is fighting his own guilt. That emotional connection adds depth to the violence. It gives the action meaning beyond spectacle. The tone of the film is colder and darker than many mainstream action movies. The snowy landscapes of Eastern Europe create a harsh environment that reflects Tyler's inner state. The villains are not exaggerated cartoon characters. They are driven by loyalty, pride, and revenge. Their anger feels real. Their brutality feels personal. This makes every confrontation more intense and more dangerous. Extraction 2 also expands the world introduced in the first film. We see more of the secret network behind Tyler's missions. We understand that he is part of a larger system of covert operations. This opens the door to a bigger universe and suggests that his journey is far from over. The film feels like both a continuation and a setup for something even larger. At its core, Extraction 2 is about purpose. Tyler Rake has spent his life being a weapon. He knows how to fight. He knows how to survive. But does he know how to live? This sequel explores whether redemption is possible for someone who has built his identity around violence. It asks whether saving others can help heal personal wounds. Extraction 2 is more than an action sequel. It is a story about a man who already faced death and now must decide what his life is worth. It combines emotional depth with technical ambition, delivering intense action while continuing the character's journey. It challenges the idea that survival alone is enough. Sometimes survival demands a second chance. Extraction 2 is a 2023 action thriller directed by Sam Hargrave and written by Joe Russo. The film serves as the direct sequel to Extraction, which was released in 2020. Like the first film, it is produced by AGBO, the production company founded by Anthony and Joe Russo, the filmmakers best known for directing major blockbuster films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Extraction 2 was distributed globally by Netflix and released on June 16, 2023. It was made specifically for streaming, but its scale, action choreography, and cinematic presentation feel comparable to major theatrical releases. The movie stars Chris Hemsworth in the lead role as Tyler Rake. Hemsworth is widely recognized for playing Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the Extraction series allows him to showcase a more grounded and physically intense style of action performance. Unlike superhero films that rely heavily on visual effects, Extraction 2 focuses on realistic combat, practical stunts, and close-quarters fighting. Hemsworth performed many of his own stunts in the film, adding authenticity to the action sequences. Alongside Hemsworth, the film features Golshifteh Farahani as Nick Khan, Tyler's trusted ally and handler. She plays a crucial role in coordinating missions and supporting Tyler on the ground. Adam Bessa returns as Yaz Khan, Nick's brother and another skilled operative. The cast also includes Tornike Gagrakiani as Zurab, the primary antagonist, and Olga Kurilenko in a smaller but emotionally significant role. Each character contributes to expanding the world of covert mercenary operations introduced in the first movie. Extraction 2 falls firmly within the action and thriller genres. However, it also incorporates elements of drama, especially through its focus on Tyler's emotional recovery and personal redemption. The runtime of the film is approximately 2 hours and 3 minutes, giving it enough space to develop both large-scale action sequences and quieter character moments. The pacing balances explosive combat scenes with slower emotional beats. The film was shot across multiple international locations, including the Czech Republic and Austria. These European settings provide a cold and intense atmosphere that matches the darker tone of the story. The snowy landscapes, industrial prisons, and urban environments add visual variety while maintaining a grounded and realistic feel. The production design emphasizes harshness and isolation, reinforcing the dangerous nature of Tyler's mission. Sam Hargrave, the director, is a former stunt coordinator and stunt performer. His background heavily influences the film's style. Rather than relying on quick editing and shaky camera movements, Hargrave focuses on long, continuous takes and clear action choreography. One of the defining technical achievements of Extraction 2 is its extended one-shot sequence during the prison escape. This sequence appears to run for over 20 minutes without visible cuts, although hidden edits are carefully blended. It demonstrates the production's commitment to immersive action filmmaking. The screenplay by Joe Russo expands the world established in the first film. While the original Extraction focused on a high-stakes rescue mission in India and Bangladesh, Extraction 2 shifts the story to Eastern Europe and deepens the emotional stakes. The mission in this sequel is more personal for Tyler, which adds emotional weight to the narrative. The script also sets up potential future expansions of the franchise, suggesting that Tyler's story may continue beyond this installment. In terms of production scale, Extraction 2 had a substantial budget, reportedly larger than the first film. The increased budget is visible in the larger action set pieces, more complex stunt work, and broader international scope. The film blends practical effects with carefully integrated visual effects to create intense sequences involving helicopters, trains, explosions, and large crowd scenes. The movie received a TVMA rating due to its strong violence, language, and intense action sequences. It does not hold back in portraying the brutality of combat. Gunfights are graphic, hand-to-hand fights are raw, and the consequences of violence are clearly shown. This rating allows the film to maintain a serious and realistic tone rather than softening the impact for younger audiences. Extraction 2 premiered on Netflix and quickly became one of the platform's most watched films of 2023. Its global release allowed it to reach audiences worldwide simultaneously. The streaming format also encouraged viewers to rewatch key scenes, especially the long-take prison escape, which became one of the most discussed action sequences of the year. Overall, Extraction 2 is a high-budget action thriller designed for a global audience. With a strong lead performance from Chris Hemsworth, direction rooted in stunt expertise, and production values that rival theatrical blockbusters, the film establishes itself as a major entry in modern streaming action cinema. After barely surviving what should have been certain death in Dhaka, Tyler Rake's story continues in a way that feels almost impossible. When he fell from the bridge into the river after being shot multiple times, it looked like the end of a man who had already given too much of himself to war. But fate had other plans. Extraction 2 opens with Tyler's broken body being pulled from the cold river water. He is unconscious, barely breathing, and covered in wounds. The damage is severe. His lungs are failing, his spine is injured, and his body is shutting down. The world believes he is gone, but a small team quietly transports him to the United Arab Emirates for emergency medical treatment. For weeks, Tyler lies in a hospital bed trapped inside a coma. Machines breathe for him. Doctors offer little hope. To them, he is just another soldier who pushed his luck too far. But to Nick, he is not just a soldier. She stays by his side every single day, refusing to give up on him. She talks to him even when he cannot respond. She watches the monitors closely, believing that the man she knows is still fighting somewhere inside. Time passes slowly, but eventually, Tyler wakes up. His eyes open to a world that feels distant and heavy. Survival, however, is only the first step. His body is shattered, and the road ahead is long and painful. The once unstoppable mercenary can barely sit up on his own. Every movement sends sharp pain through his spine and ribs. Months of intense physiotherapy follow. The recovery process is brutal. Tyler falls, struggles, and pushes himself past his limits. He has always relied on his strength, and now he must rebuild it from nothing. Slowly, step by step, he regains mobility. The scars remain visible reminders of how close he came to dying. 9 months later, Tyler chooses to retire from mercenary work. For the first time in years, he attempts to step away from violence. Nick and her brother Yes take him to a quiet cabin in the snowy mountains of Austria. The location is remote, peaceful, and completely removed from the chaos that once defined his life. Nick encourages him to focus on rebuilding himself, not just physically but emotionally. She wants him to find something beyond missions and gunfire. But peace does not come easily to Tyler. Alone in the silence of the mountains, he is forced to confront the memories he has buried for years. The most painful of those memories is his son, who died from cancer while Tyler was away on a mission. The guilt weighs heavily on him. He cannot forget that the last memory his son had was watching his father leave again. No mission, no money, no victory has ever erased that regret. Just when Tyler seems ready to disappear into isolation, a stranger arrives at his cabin. The man introduces himself as Alcott. Calm, confident, and mysterious, Alcott knows exactly who Tyler is and what he is capable of. He brings a proposal that is not random and not simple. It is personal. Alcott explains that Tyler's ex-wife Mia's sister, Ketavan, is in serious danger in Georgia. Years ago, Ketavan married a powerful and ruthless man named David Radiani. David is not just a criminal. He is one of the co-founders of the Nagazi, the largest and most powerful crime syndicate in Georgia. The organization controls politicians, runs a billion-dollar heroin operation, and operates with loyalty that resembles a twisted family bond. David's influence stretches across the country. However, after brutally murdering a DEA agent by throwing him off a bridge, David was arrested. Normally, his wealth and connections would have secured his release, but heavy pressure from the Americans prevented that. He was sentenced to prison without the possibility of bribery saving him. Imprisonment, however, did not weaken David's control. Instead, he forced Ketavan and their 2 children, Sandro and Nina, to move inside the prison to live with him. He claimed it was for their protection, but in reality, it was about power and control. The prison environment is harsh and violent. Living conditions are terrible, and David's abusive behavior grows worse. Ketavan feels trapped, both physically and emotionally. She reaches out to Mia in desperation, asking for help to escape with her children. The situation is complicated by Sandro's loyalty to his father. David has been shaping the boy's mind, teaching him that the Negozzi lifestyle is honorable and powerful. Sandro idolizes his father and believes everything David tells him. He sees strength and protection, not cruelty and manipulation. Meanwhile, outside the prison walls, David's brother Zurab continues to operate the syndicate. When a corrupt governor informs Zurab that David's prison sentence has been extended by another 10 years, Zurab demands his brother's release. The governor refuses, fearing American retaliation. Zurab responds with ruthless violence, killing the governor and his bodyguards without hesitation. His message is clear: no one stands in their way. Alcott makes it clear to Tyler that rescuing Kedavin and the children will not be simple. Once David or Zurab realize what has happened, the entire Negozzi organization will hunt Tyler down. They have money, political power, and a loyal army ready to die for the Radiani brothers. This mission will not be a quiet extraction. It will ignite a war. Tyler listens carefully, understanding the scale of what he is being asked to do. This is not about payment or reputation. It is about family. Helping Kedavin means helping Mia, the woman he once loved and still carries guilt toward. It offers him a chance to do something that might balance the mistakes of his past. Standing in the cold Austrian mountains, surrounded by silence, Tyler makes his decision. Retirement was never truly in his blood. He begins training again, pushing his recovering body to its limits. Every bruise and every drop of sweat reminds him that survival is not enough. If he is going back into the fire, he must be stronger than ever. This time, it is not about the thrill of the mission or the money. It is about redemption. And Tyler Rake is ready to step back into hell for it. Tyler knows this mission cannot be done alone, so he reaches out to the only people he trusts completely, Nick and her brother Yaz. They understand the risk immediately. This is not a simple extraction from a guarded building. This is a rescue from inside a prison controlled by one of the most powerful crime families in Georgia. Once David and Zurab realize what is happening, there will be no limit to the retaliation. Still, Nick agrees without hesitation. For her, this is more than a job too. Together, the three of them begin planning every detail. They gather weapons, map the prison layout, and secure help from a bribed guard on the inside. Tyler pushes himself harder in preparation. His body is strong again, but he knows he is not invincible. Every move must be precise. Every second must count. The day of the extraction arrives. Tyler, Nick, and Yaz infiltrate the prison under controlled chaos. At first, everything moves according to plan. They locate Kedavin and her children and prepare to move them quietly out of the facility. But David senses something is wrong. From inside the prison, he alerts the other inmates. Within moments, the controlled operation explodes into full-scale chaos. Prisoners begin rioting. Guards lose control. Sirens echo through the halls. What was meant to be a silent extraction turns into a battlefield. Tyler moves through the corridors with deadly focus, fighting off waves of prisoners who attack from every direction. Nick escorts Sandro and Nina ahead, trying to shield them from the violence. Kedavin stays close to Tyler as the situation spirals out of control. During the escape, David confronts Tyler directly. The two men clash in a brutal fight fueled by anger and ego. David sees Tyler not just as an intruder but as someone stealing his family and his power. The fight is savage and personal. Kedavin attempts to intervene, but the chaos around them intensifies. In the end, Tyler kills David to protect her. It is quick but violent. However, Sandro does not witness the moment. Tyler had sent him and Nina ahead with Nick, staying behind to deal with David and the swarm of prisoners. This detail will later become important. For now, survival is the only priority. The prison yard turns into complete war. Tyler and Kedavin are forced to fight their way through an entire crowd of rioting inmates. Fists, knives, and gunfire erupt around them. Tyler absorbs blow after blow but refuses to slow down. Finally, Nick pulls up at the prison gates with their vehicle. Tyler and Kedavin barely make it out as Zurab and his heavily armed forces arrive at the scene. The moment David's death is confirmed, Zurab's fury ignites. His men unleash everything they have. A high-speed chase begins as bullets rip through the air. Sandro starts to realize something terrible has happened to his father. Confusion and anger build inside him as the convoy fights to escape. The team races toward an industrial complex where an armored train waits as their next escape route. Zurab's forces pursue them relentlessly, attacking with military precision. Explosions tear through vehicles. Gunfire echoes through the narrow roads. Tyler fires back with calculated aggression, protecting the children at all costs. Somehow, they manage to board the moving train just in time. For a brief moment, it feels like they might have gained distance. But Zurab is not finished. 2 attack helicopters rise into the air, closing in on the train from above. The battlefield shifts once again. On top of the speeding train, Tyler engages in one of the most intense fights of his life. The helicopters fire relentlessly, tearing apart the metal cars. One team of Nagatsi fighters manages to land on the train and push toward the engine to stop it. Inside, Nick battles enemies trying to seize control while keeping the train moving forward. Tyler moves between train cars, fighting off attackers and shielding Kedivin and her children from capture. The action is relentless, without pause. Every second feels like life or death. Tyler manages to destroy one helicopter and disable the threat from the other, but the damage has been done. The train loses control. With no brakes left, it speeds toward the end of the track and crashes violently off the line. The crash is devastating, metal twisting and debris flying in all directions. But miraculously, the group survives. Bruised and shaken, they push forward again. There is no time to process what just happened. They make their way to a plane waiting to extract them from the country. Finally airborne, there is a moment of silence inside the cabin. It feels like the worst is behind them, but the emotional battle has just begun. Sandro sits quietly, processing everything. He idolized his father. In his eyes, David was strong, powerful, and protective. Now he has been taken away, and Tyler is the man responsible. Doubt begins to grow in his mind. While the others are distracted, Sandro secretly uses Yaz's satellite phone to contact his uncle Zurab. He reveals their location in Vienna. In his confusion and anger, he believes he is honoring his father. Zurab manipulates the boy easily, telling him that Kedivin had planned the escape for years and that Tyler murdered David without mercy. He convinces Sandro that his mother betrayed their family. When they land in Vienna and arrive at a safe house inside the DC towers, the tension within the group increases. Kedivin reveals to Nick that Tyler is actually her former brother-in-law. This mission was never just business. It was personal from the start. Nick begins to understand the deeper emotional weight Tyler has been carrying. Meanwhile, Sandro confronts Tyler directly. He demands answers. Tyler tries to explain that David was keeping them prisoners against their will and that Kedivin stayed to protect her children. But Sandro refuses to believe him. In his mind, his father was the hero. Tyler becomes the villain. As emotions clash inside the safe house, danger approaches from outside. Zurab and his men have tracked them down. The building is suddenly attacked from all sides. Gunfire erupts once more. Glass shatters. Explosions rock the structure. Kedivin realizes in horror that her son's phone call has put them all in danger. In the chaos, Sandro makes a shocking choice. Believing his uncle's words, he abandons his mother and joins Zurab's men. Yaz chases after him, determined to bring the boy back, but becomes separated from Tyler and Nick as the attack intensifies. The war that began inside a prison is far from over. It has now followed them into the heart of Vienna, and the cost is about to become even more personal. The attack on the DC Tower's safe house turns into absolute chaos as Zurab and his heavily armed men surround the building from all sides. Gunfire tears through the glass walls, explosions shake the structure, and panic spreads inside. Kedivin realizes in horror that her son's secret call has brought this storm down on them. In the middle of the confusion, Sandro makes a heartbreaking decision. Convinced by his uncle's manipulation and blinded by loyalty to his father, he runs toward Zurab's men and leaves his mother behind. Yaz immediately goes after him, determined to bring the boy back before it is too late. But the separation creates a dangerous gap in their defense. Nick tries to maintain control of the situation, coordinating movement and returning fire, but Zurab's forces are overwhelming. They are not just attacking with anger, they are attacking with strategy. Outside, explosions block exits and destroy vehicles. Nick attempts to maneuver a car to extract Yaz, but a grenade launcher strikes it, trapping her and cutting off their escape route. Tyler sees everything happening at once. He knows that if they stay pinned down much longer, none of them will survive. With bullets flying around him, he makes a split-second decision. There is a helicopter positioned at the top of the building. If he can reach it, they might have a chance. Tyler pushes forward through waves of attackers, fighting his way up floor by floor. Every movement is calculated but fueled by urgency. This is no longer just about completing a mission. This is about saving the people who stood beside him when he had nothing. On the rooftop, the fight becomes even more intense. Zurab himself closes in, determined to end Tyler personally. During the struggle, Nick is knocked unconscious near the edge of the building and begins sliding toward a fatal fall. Without hesitation, Tyler dives forward and grabs her arm just in time. His injured body strains under the weight, and for a moment it looks like both of them might fall. Zurab appears and shoots Tyler's hand, trying to force him to let go. Blood runs down Tyler's fingers, but he refuses to release her. The pain is unbearable, yet his grip does not loosen. In that moment, it is clear that Tyler has changed. He is no longer the man who runs from emotional attachment. He chooses to hold on. Nick regains consciousness just in time and fires at Zurab, giving Tyler the opening he needs to pull her back to safety. Together, they fight off the remaining attackers and take control of one of Zurab's helicopters. But as they escape, tragedy strikes. Zurab fires one last shot that mortally wounds Yaz. They manage to retreat back to Tyler's cabin in Austria, the same place that once symbolized peace. Now it becomes a place of mourning and reflection. Yaz's death weighs heavily on both Tyler and Nick. He was more than a partner, he was family. Mia arrives at the cabin, and for the first time in years, Tyler is forced to confront her face to face. The conversation between them is quiet but powerful. Tyler apologizes for leaving on a mission the day before their son died. The regret he has carried for years finally surfaces fully. Mia tells him something he never expected to hear. Their son believed his father was a hero. That belief gives Tyler a small sense of peace, but it does not erase his pain. Meanwhile, Zurab refuses to let the conflict end. Even after losing many of his men and witnessing the destruction caused by his obsession with revenge, he pushes forward. His uncle and right-hand man, of Tandil, warns him that continuing this path will only bring more loss and damage the future of their family. But Zurab is consumed by rage. In a shocking display of cruelty, he kills of Tandil, proving that his thirst for vengeance is stronger than loyalty or wisdom. He contacts Tyler directly and demands a final meeting at a nearby airfield next to a church. This is not about strategy anymore. It is about pride and finishing what he believes his brother started. Tyler prepares for the final confrontation. He refuses to risk Nick's life and leaves her behind, choosing to face Zurab alone. At the airfield, Tyler moves through the remaining Nazi forces with lethal efficiency. One by one, he eliminates them, clearing a path toward the church. Inside, he finds Zurab and Sandro waiting. The sight of the boy wearing an explosive vest changes everything. Zurab has manipulated his own nephew into becoming a weapon. He forces Sandro to take Tyler's pistol and orders him to shoot. The moment is tense and heartbreaking. Tyler does not attack. He speaks calmly to Sandro, reminding him of his mother's love and the truth about his father. He tells the boy that David chose violence and control, not protection. Sandro's hands tremble. The lies begin to break apart. In that critical moment, he refuses to pull the trigger. Nick arrives just in time and carefully disarms the explosive vest while Tyler engages Zurab in one final brutal fight. The two men exchange heavy blows, fueled by grief and rage. In the end, Tyler overpowers him and kills Zurab, finally ending the cycle of revenge. Moments later, police storm the church, guns raised. Tyler and Nick are both wounded and exhausted. This time, there is no escape. They are arrested and taken into custody. In the aftermath, Mia informs Tyler that Kevin and her children have been placed in protective custody. In exchange for immunity, Kevin agreed to help the Americans dismantle what remains of the Nagatsi operation. However, all of their financial assets have been frozen, leaving them with nothing. Tyler tells Mia about the $1 million hidden under the floorboards in his cabin and asks her to give it to Kevin and the children so they can start over. Even behind bars, Tyler chooses to protect them. As Tyler sits in prison, it appears that this is finally the end of his journey. But the story is not finished yet. The mysterious stranger Alcott returns. He meets Tyler inside the prison and offers him another deal: freedom in exchange for another mission. Tyler listens carefully. This time, he does not answer immediately. He tells Alcott that he will not accept any job unless Nick is included. When he steps outside, he sees that Nick has already been released as part of the arrangement. The two exchange a look that says everything without words. The door to freedom is open again, and so is the door to another dangerous path. As they walk forward together, it becomes clear that for Tyler Rake, the fight is never truly over. Extraction 2 follows a clear but carefully layered narrative structure that builds tension step by step while deepening the emotional stakes. The film uses a classic 3-act structure, but within that familiar framework, it introduces strong character motivations, escalating conflict, and large-scale action sequences that feel earned rather than random. The pacing is deliberate at the start, explosive in the middle, and emotionally reflective by the end. The first act focuses on survival and reintroduction. Instead of beginning with immediate action, the film opens with the aftermath of the previous story. Tyler Rake is alive, but barely. He is physically broken and emotionally exhausted. This opening act slows down the tempo and allows the audience to reconnect with him. We see his recovery, his isolation, and his struggle to find direction. The narrative does not rush into the next mission. It first shows us a man questioning whether he should even continue living the life he once embraced. This is important because it sets up the emotional foundation for everything that follows. The first turning point happens when Tyler is offered a new mission. Unlike the previous assignment, this one is personal. He is asked to rescue his ex-wife's sister and her children from a violent criminal organization. This connection shifts the story from a professional contract to a mission tied to his past. That personal link drives the rest of the narrative. The second act is where the film fully shifts into action mode. Tyler travels to Eastern Europe, where the mission unfolds inside a heavily guarded prison controlled by a Georgian crime syndicate. This section of the story is tightly constructed. First, there is infiltration. Then, confrontation. The prison escape becomes the centerpiece of the entire film. The extended one-shot sequence creates a sense of real-time urgency. Instead of cutting away, the camera moves continuously, making the audience feel trapped in the same dangerous environment. Narratively, this sequence functions as both a physical and emotional midpoint. It is the moment where the mission transforms from a simple extraction to a full-scale war. Once the family is freed from the prison, the consequences begin. The crime syndicate leader's brother, Zurab, becomes the driving force of revenge. The conflict escalates from rescue to retaliation. The structure of the second act is built around pursuit. After the prison escape, the characters are constantly on the move. The story shifts locations from prison yards to city streets, from safe houses to train yards. Each new setting increases the tension. Instead of giving the characters time to rest, the narrative keeps pressure on them. This constant forward movement maintains momentum and prevents the story from feeling repetitive. The third act centers on confrontation and resolution. By this point, the stakes are no longer just about protecting the rescued family. They are about survival against an enemy who will not stop. Zurab's personal vendetta transforms him into a relentless antagonist. The final confrontation is structured as an unavoidable showdown. The narrative builds toward this clash with careful pacing, ensuring that the emotional tension matches the physical intensity. One of the strengths of the film's narrative flow is how it balances action with character moments. After high-intensity sequences, the story slows down briefly to show emotional reactions. Tyler reflects on his past. The rescued children process trauma. These quieter scenes are not random pauses. They serve as breathing space, allowing the audience to connect with the characters before the next wave of action begins. Another key aspect of the structure is escalation. Every major sequence is bigger and more dangerous than the one before. The prison fight leads to a city chase. The chase leads to a train sequence. The train sequence leads to the final confrontation. The stakes grow naturally rather than suddenly. Each event feels like a direct consequence of the previous one. The narrative also expands the world of the franchise. Through small but meaningful interactions, the film hints at a larger network behind Tyler's operations. This creates a sense that the story exists in a broader universe. While the immediate plot resolves, the structure leaves room for future developments. Overall, Extraction 2 uses a clear 3-act framework but strengthens it with emotional motivation, escalating stakes, and immersive action choreography. The flow feels controlled yet intense. It moves from recovery to mission, from rescue to revenge, and from survival to potential redemption. Extraction may second be known for its intense action, but at its core, it is driven by character development. The film does not simply throw Tyler Rake into another mission. Instead, it carefully builds emotional layers around him and the supporting characters. The story explores trauma, loyalty, guilt, and redemption through the arcs of its main figures. Each major character undergoes some form of change, whether subtle or dramatic. Tyler Rake's arc is the emotional backbone of the film. At the beginning, he is physically alive but spiritually drained. He survived the events of the first movie, but survival did not bring peace. He is isolated in a remote cabin, recovering from severe injuries. His body is weak, and his mind seems distant. This version of Tyler is not the confident mercenary from before. He questions his purpose. He appears lost. This starting point is crucial because it shows vulnerability. For the first time, he looks unsure about continuing the life he knows. When the new mission is presented, Tyler initially resists. He does not jump into action immediately. That hesitation shows growth. In the first film, he embraced danger without thinking. Now he understands the cost. However, once he accepts the mission, something shifts. The fact that the rescue involves his ex-wife's sister and her children adds emotional weight. He is no longer fighting for money or reputation. He is fighting for something connected to his own broken past. As the mission progresses, Tyler's arc moves from isolation to responsibility. During the prison escape, he is once again the unstoppable fighter. But this time, his actions are not reckless. They are protective. He places himself between danger and the children. He absorbs violence to shield them. This shift highlights his transformation. He is not just surviving. He is choosing to protect. By the final act, Tyler's arc reaches a form of redemption. He cannot undo his past mistakes or bring back what he lost, but he can make different choices now. The story does not present him as fully healed. Instead, it shows him moving forward with new awareness. His survival now carries meaning. He is no longer a man who does not care if he lives. He begins to see value in staying alive for others. Nick Khan also experiences subtle but important development. In the first film, she served mainly as the calm and capable handler. In this sequel, her presence feels more personal. She supports Tyler during his recovery, but she also challenges him. She does not allow him to hide behind pain. Throughout the mission, she proves that she is more than just support. She actively participates in combat and strategic decisions. Her arc reinforces the theme of loyalty. She stands beside Tyler not out of obligation, but out of trust and belief in him. Yaz Khan, Nick's brother, represents steadiness and sacrifice. He is loyal to both his sister and Tyler. His arc highlights the cost of this dangerous world. While he is skilled and composed, the risks he faces remind the audience that not everyone escapes unscarred. His journey emphasizes the reality that teamwork in this world comes with heavy consequences. The antagonist, Zurab, also has a clear arc driven by revenge. Unlike faceless villains, Zurab's motivation is personal. When his brother is killed during the prison escape, his objective shifts from maintaining power to avenging family honor. His development moves from calculated leader to emotionally driven hunter. This transformation makes him more dangerous. He becomes less strategic and more relentless. His arc mirrors Tyler's in a twisted way. Both are driven by loyalty to family. The difference lies in how they choose to express it. Kedavin, the woman being rescued, undergoes a quieter but meaningful change. At first, she appears trapped, both physically and emotionally, in an abusive and criminal environment. During the escape and aftermath, she shows strength and resilience. She is not simply a passive victim. Her arc reflects the theme of breaking free from cycles of violence. The children, Sandro and Nina, symbolize innocence caught in brutality. Sandro, especially, experiences internal conflict. He is torn between loyalty to his imprisoned father and fear of the violent world around him. His arc represents the struggle between inherited identity and personal choice. Through his interactions with Tyler, we see the possibility of a different path. Overall, Extraction 2 focuses heavily on transformation. Tyler evolves from detached survivor to responsible protector. Nick reinforces loyalty with strength. Zurab descends deeper into revenge. Even the rescued family members shift from helplessness to agency. These arcs add emotional weight to the action. The fights matter because the characters matter. The film reminds us that physical battles are only part of the story. The deeper struggle is internal. It is about who these characters choose to become when faced with pain, loss, and violence. Extraction 2 delivers intense action, but its impact would not be the same without strong performances from the cast. The film depends heavily on physical acting, emotional restraint, and believable reactions under extreme pressure. Because the story is grounded in realism rather than fantasy, the actors must sell every punch, every wound, and every emotional moment in a convincing way. Overall, the performances elevate the film beyond a standard action sequel. Chris Hemsworth carries the movie as Tyler Rake, and his performance is far more layered than it may appear at first glance. Known globally for playing a superhero with godlike strength, Hemsworth shifts into a more human and vulnerable mode here. From the opening scenes, his physical acting tells a story. He does not rely on dialogue to show Tyler's pain. Instead, he uses posture, breathing, and subtle facial expressions to communicate exhaustion and emotional weight. During the recovery scenes at the beginning, Hemsworth plays Tyler as a man disconnected from himself. His movements are slow and uncertain. His eyes seem distant. This is not the confident warrior we saw before. The performance shows that survival has consequences. Hemsworth makes the audience believe that Tyler's body truly endured massive trauma. That physical realism strengthens everything that follows. When the action begins, Hemsworth transforms again. His performance becomes controlled and focused. He does not smile or deliver flashy one-liners. Instead, he fights with intensity and precision. What stands out is how he portrays pain during combat. When Tyler is hit, it shows. When he is wounded, he reacts. Hemsworth avoids portraying the character as invincible. He grunts, stumbles, and breathes heavily. These details make the action feel authentic. The emotional moments are where Hemsworth's performance gains depth. Tyler is not a man who talks openly about feelings. Most of his internal struggle is communicated through silence. In scenes involving the rescued children, especially Sandro, Hemsworth softens his expression and tone. He subtly shifts from hardened soldier to reluctant protector. That transition is handled carefully, without becoming sentimental. It feels natural rather than forced. Golshifteh Farahani delivers a strong and confident performance as Nick Khan. She brings calm authority to the role. Unlike many action films where female characters are sidelined, Nick is active, intelligent, and capable. Farahani balances emotional strength with vulnerability. In scenes where she supports Tyler's recovery, she shows concern without appearing weak. Her voice remains steady, reinforcing her role as both partner and strategist. During action sequences, Farahani holds her ground. She handles weapons with confidence and moves with purpose. Her performance suggests that Nick has years of experience in dangerous situations. She does not overact or exaggerate. Instead, she keeps her reactions controlled, which matches the tone of the film. Her chemistry with Hemsworth feels built on trust rather than romance, which makes their dynamic more believable. Adam Bessa as Yaz Khan brings quiet loyalty to the screen. His performance is subtle but important. Yaz does not dominate scenes with dramatic speeches. Instead, he expresses commitment through actions. Bessa portrays him as dependable and focused. His reactions during high-stress moments feel realistic. He represents the kind of teammate who stands firm even when the situation becomes overwhelming. Tornaik Gagrakiani, who plays the antagonist Zurab, delivers a performance driven by controlled intensity. He avoids playing the villain as exaggerated or theatrical. Instead, his anger feels personal and grounded. When his motivation shifts to revenge, Gagrakiani shows that transformation gradually. His expressions grow colder. His movements become more aggressive. This makes him feel like a genuine threat rather than a typical action movie villain. Olga Kurylenko appears in a smaller role, but her presence adds emotional weight to the story. Her scenes connect directly to Tyler's past. Even with limited screen time, she conveys unresolved tension and shared history. Her performance supports Tyler's arc without distracting from the main narrative. The child actors, especially Andro Japrij as Sandro, deliver surprisingly strong performances. Sandro's internal conflict is important to the story. Japrij portrays confusion, fear, and loyalty in a believable way. His interactions with Hemsworth feel natural rather than scripted. That authenticity strengthens the emotional side of the film. One of the most impressive aspects of the acting in Extraction 2 is how well the cast handles long action sequences. The extended one-shot prison escape required not only physical endurance but emotional consistency. The actors had to maintain intensity without relying on heavy editing. Their performances during that sequence feel continuous and immersive. Overall, the acting in Extraction 2 supports the realism and emotional depth of the story. Chris Hemsworth delivers a performance that balances physical dominance with emotional restraint. The supporting cast strengthens the world around him. Together, they create a film where action feels earned because the characters feel real. Extraction 2 is directed by Sam Hargrave, and his vision is one of the strongest reasons the film stands out in modern action cinema. Hargrave is not just a traditional director. He comes from a background in stunt coordination and action performance. Before directing, he worked on major Hollywood productions as a stunt performer and second-unit director. That experience shapes every frame of this movie. His direction focuses on clarity, realism, and immersion rather than flashy distractions. From the very beginning, Hargrave makes it clear that this sequel will feel bigger but also more personal. The opening recovery scenes are quiet and restrained. Instead of jumping straight into explosions, he allows the camera to linger on Tyler Rake's physical and emotional state. The pacing here is deliberate. Hargrave understands that without emotional grounding, action has no impact. By slowing down the opening, he gives weight to everything that follows. One of Hargrave's strongest directorial choices is his emphasis on practical action. Rather than relying heavily on computer-generated effects, he prioritizes real stunt work, physical choreography, and detailed blocking. The fights feel grounded because the camera does not hide the performers. He avoids excessive shaky cam or rapid cutting that often masks weak choreography in other action films. Instead, he uses longer takes that allow the audience to see every movement clearly. The most talked about example of his vision is the extended prison escape sequence. This scene appears to unfold in one continuous shot, moving through multiple locations, levels, and environments. Achieving this required detailed planning, coordination, and technical precision. Hargrave's background in stunt work gave him the ability to design action that flows naturally within a moving camera framework. The result is immersive. Viewers feel as though they are walking through the chaos alongside Tyler. This long-take approach reflects Hargrave's belief that action should feel lived in rather than edited together. The camera becomes a participant rather than an observer. It moves through tight corridors, across rooftops, and into close combat without cutting away. That commitment to immersion is a defining part of his directorial identity. Hargrave also shows strong control over tone. Extraction 2 has a darker and colder atmosphere than many mainstream action films. The snowy landscapes of Eastern Europe, the industrial prison setting, and the muted color palette create a harsh visual environment. Hargrave uses these settings to reflect Tyler's internal state. The world feels cold because Tyler feels emotionally distant. The environment is not just a backdrop. It supports the story's themes. Another important element of his direction is how he balances chaos with clarity. Large-scale action scenes can easily become confusing. However, Hargrave ensures that geography is always understandable. The audience knows where characters are positioned, where threats are coming from, and what the objective is. This clarity increases tension because viewers can anticipate danger rather than feeling lost. Hargrave also pays attention to character-driven moments. Even in the middle of intense sequences, he includes brief emotional beats. A glance between Tyler and the children. A moment of hesitation before a confrontation. These small details prevent the film from becoming emotionally empty. His direction ensures that action never completely overshadows character. Collaboration is another key part of Hargrave's vision. Working closely with writer Joe Russo and lead actor Chris Hemsworth, he shapes Tyler Rake as both a physical force and a wounded individual. Hargrave does not portray Tyler as a superhero. He emphasizes vulnerability. When Tyler is injured, the camera does not cut away quickly. It stays with him. This reinforces the physical cost of violence. Hargrave also demonstrates an understanding of pacing. The film is structured like waves. Intense action rises, then briefly settles into quieter reflection before building again. This rhythm keeps the audience engaged without overwhelming them. He knows when to push forward and when to pause. Importantly, Hargrave expands the scope of the franchise without losing its identity. Extraction 2 feels larger in scale, but it maintains the grounded tone of the original. His vision suggests a growing world of covert operations while keeping the focus on Tyler's journey. He avoids turning the sequel into a spectacle-driven blockbuster detached from emotion. Overall, Sam Hargrave's direction combines technical precision with emotional awareness. His stunt background allows him to create some of the most immersive action sequences in recent years. At the same time, his storytelling choices ensure that the film remains character-focused. His vision transforms Extraction 2 from a simple action sequel into a carefully crafted continuation of Tyler Rake's story. The cinematography of Extraction 2 plays a major role in shaping the film's identity. While the action choreography and performances are powerful, it is the camera work and visual style that make the experience feel immersive and intense. The film's cinematography, led by director of photography Greg Baldi, focuses on realism, movement, and emotional atmosphere. Every visual choice supports the tone of the story and enhances the feeling that the audience is inside the chaos rather than watching from a safe distance. One of the most noticeable aspects of the cinematography is its grounded and gritty aesthetic. The film avoids overly polished or glossy visuals. Instead, it embraces a raw and textured look. The environments feel cold, industrial, and harsh. Whether the story is set in a remote snowy landscape, inside a prison yard, or in narrow urban streets, the camera captures the rough edges of each location. This visual roughness reflects Tyler Rake's internal state. The world looks unforgiving because his life feels unforgiving. Color grading plays an important part in establishing mood. The film uses a cooler color palette for much of its runtime. Shades of blue, gray, and muted white dominate the snowy prison sequences and exterior locations. These cold tones create a sense of isolation and emotional distance. In contrast, moments involving fire or explosions introduce warmer colors like orange and red, which sharply stand out against the cold background. This contrast heightens tension and draws attention to moments of extreme violence or danger. Camera movement is another defining feature of the film's visual style. Instead of relying heavily on static shots, the cinematography is dynamic and fluid. The camera often moves alongside characters, follows them through corridors, and shifts perspective in real time. This creates a sense of physical presence. The audience does not feel like they are watching from afar. They feel like they are moving through the environment with Tyler. The most famous example of this approach is the extended one-shot prison escape sequence. This scene appears to unfold in one continuous take, even though hidden cuts are blended carefully. The camera travels through multiple environments, including prison cells, staircases, rooftops, and moving vehicles. The complexity of this sequence required precise coordination between camera operators, stunt performers, and actors. The cinematography during this scene is not just technical. It is storytelling. By refusing to cut away, the film forces viewers to experience the chaos without relief. This long-take style increases tension. Traditional editing allows audiences to breathe between cuts. Here, the lack of visible cuts removes that comfort. The camera becomes a witness that cannot look away. It moves through smoke, gunfire, and physical combat in a way that feels almost documentary-like. That immersive quality sets Extraction 2 apart from many action films that rely on fast editing to create excitement. Close-up shots are used strategically throughout the film. During emotional moments, the camera lingers on faces rather than pulling back. This allows subtle expressions to carry meaning. For example, Tyler's exhaustion, hesitation, or determination is often shown through tight framing. These close-ups balance the larger action shots and remind the audience that this is a character-driven story. Lighting is carefully controlled to match the tone of each sequence. Prison interiors use harsh and realistic lighting, often with shadows that create tension. Nighttime scenes are dark but not overly obscured. The cinematography ensures that viewers can clearly follow the action without losing detail. Even during fast-moving fight sequences, the lighting remains practical and believable. Wide shots are used to establish scale. When characters move across snowy landscapes or stand on rooftops overlooking industrial settings, the camera pulls back to show the vastness around them. These shots emphasize isolation. Tyler often appears small against large environments, reinforcing the theme of a single man fighting overwhelming forces. Another key element of the visual style is clarity. Many modern action films use rapid cuts and shaky camera work that can make scenes confusing. Extraction 2 avoids this. Even during chaotic moments, the geography of the scene is understandable. The audience knows where characters are in relation to threats. This clarity increases suspense because viewers can anticipate danger rather than feeling lost. Overall, the cinematography of Extraction 2 combines technical precision with emotional storytelling. The cool color palette, fluid camera movement, immersive long takes, and balanced lighting all work together to create a gritty and intense atmosphere. The visuals are not just impressive. They are purposeful. They reflect the emotional journey of the characters and make the audience feel every step of Tyler Rake's dangerous mission. The editing and pacing of Extraction 2 play a crucial role in shaping the film's intensity and emotional impact. In action cinema, editing can either elevate the experience or weaken it. If cuts are too fast and chaotic, the audience may feel disconnected. If scenes move too slowly, tension can fade. Extraction 2 finds a careful balance. The film's editing supports clarity, immersion, and emotional rhythm, allowing the story to unfold with purpose rather than confusion. Unlike many modern action films that rely heavily on rapid-fire cuts to create excitement, Extraction 2 often chooses restraint. The editors allow action sequences to breathe. Instead of cutting away every second, they let fights unfold within longer takes. This approach respects the choreography and physical performances. Viewers can clearly see each punch, each movement, and each reaction. The result is action that feels authentic rather than artificially intensified through editing tricks. The pacing of the film follows a wave-like structure. It does not remain at maximum intensity throughout. Instead, it builds gradually, explodes into chaos, then pulls back for reflection before rising again. The opening act is intentionally slower. After surviving the events of the previous film, Tyler Rake is recovering physically and emotionally. The editing during these scenes is calm and measured. Shots linger longer. Transitions are smooth and unhurried. This slower pace allows the audience to reconnect with the character and understand his internal struggle. When the mission begins, the pacing tightens. Scenes become more focused and direct. Dialogue sequences are concise. Travel and preparation moments are streamlined without unnecessary distractions. The film wastes very little time once the objective is clear. This controlled acceleration ensures that the tension builds naturally rather than suddenly. The prison escape sequence represents the peak of the film's editing discipline. Although it appears to be one continuous shot, the scene contains carefully hidden transitions. The brilliance lies in how invisible those edits feel. The sequence flows seamlessly across multiple environments and layers of action. Instead of breaking the tension with frequent cuts, the editors maintain immersion. The audience experiences the chaos in real time, which increases suspense. This approach requires confidence. Allowing scenes to play out in extended takes means trusting the choreography and performances. The editing does not hide mistakes or mask weak movements. Instead, it enhances realism. The flow of this sequence feels relentless because there are no obvious pauses. It mirrors the exhaustion and urgency that the characters experience. After the prison escape, the pacing shifts again. The story transitions into a pursuit phase. Here, editing becomes sharper but still clear. Quick cuts are used when necessary, especially during chases or gunfights, but the film avoids becoming visually overwhelming. Each cut serves a purpose. The audience always understands where characters are located and what the stakes are. One of the strengths of the film's pacing is its use of emotional pauses. After intense action, the story slows down briefly. These quieter scenes are not filler. They allow characters to process what has happened. They also give viewers time to absorb the consequences. Without these slower moments, the action would lose impact. The editors understand that tension needs contrast to remain effective. Dialogue scenes are edited efficiently. Conversations rarely drag. Reactions are often shown through subtle cuts between characters rather than exaggerated close-ups. This creates a natural rhythm in interactions. The film does not rely heavily on long monologues. Instead, it uses short exchanges supported by facial expressions and body language. The final act demonstrates strong pacing control. As the story moves toward its climax, the editing tightens once more. The build-up to the final confrontation is steady and focused. The tension increases gradually rather than rushing toward the ending. When the final showdown occurs, the editing maintains clarity even during fast movements and explosive moments. Another important aspect of the editing is tonal consistency. Extraction 2 maintains a serious and grounded tone throughout. The pacing never suddenly shifts into comedy or exaggerated spectacle. The editors preserve the film's darker atmosphere by keeping transitions smooth and purposeful. Overall, the editing and pacing of Extraction 2 reflect careful craftsmanship. The film balances extended immersive sequences with sharp, focused cuts. It allows action to feel real while giving emotional moments space to breathe. The wave-like rhythm keeps the audience engaged without overwhelming them. Through disciplined editing choices, the movie sustains tension from beginning to end while preserving clarity and realism. Sound design, music, and score are essential elements that give Extraction 2 its emotional weight and physical intensity. While the action visuals are powerful, it is the sound that makes each punch feel heavy, each gunshot feel dangerous, and each quiet moment feel meaningful. The film uses layered sound design and a carefully structured musical score to build tension, enhance realism, and deepen the audience's immersion. The sound design in Extraction 2 focuses heavily on realism. Every physical movement has weight. When Tyler Rake throws a punch, you hear not just the impact but also the subtle details around it. The shifting of boots on gravel, the echo of breath, the scrape of clothing. These details may seem small, but together they create a sense of physical presence. The fights do not feel stylized or exaggerated. They feel grounded and brutal. Gunfire in the film is sharp and loud without being overly dramatic. The sound team avoids turning weapons into exaggerated cinematic blasts. Instead, the gunshots echo naturally within their environments. Inside the prison, shots reverberate against concrete walls. Outdoors, they carry across open spaces with sharp clarity. This environmental awareness in sound design increases immersion. It makes the audience feel the geography of each location. One of the most impressive uses of sound comes during the extended prison escape sequence. Because this scene appears to unfold in one continuous take, the sound design must also flow seamlessly. There are no obvious resets or breaks. The noise of shouting prisoners, echoing footsteps, metal doors slamming, gunfire, and helicopter blades all blend into a layered soundscape. The intensity builds gradually, matching the physical escalation of the scene. The audience feels surrounded by chaos. Moments of silence are also used strategically. After particularly intense sequences, the film occasionally reduces background noise. This creates emotional space. Silence becomes powerful because it contrasts with the loud action. When Tyler pauses to catch his breath, the reduction in sound allows viewers to feel his exhaustion. These quieter moments are just as important as the explosive ones. The musical score, composed by Henry Jackman and Alex Belcher, supports the tone without overpowering it. The music in Extraction 2 does not dominate scenes unnecessarily. Instead, it builds underneath the action, enhancing tension rather than distracting from it. The score uses deep bass tones, steady percussion, and atmospheric electronic elements. These sounds create a sense of urgency and forward motion. During high-intensity scenes, the music often pulses rather than explodes. It mirrors a racing heartbeat. This rhythmic approach keeps viewers on edge. The score rarely feels heroic or triumphant. Instead, it feels tense and focused. This choice aligns with the grounded nature of the film. Tyler Rake is not portrayed as a superhero, so the music avoids dramatic orchestral swells that would suggest invincibility. In emotional scenes, the score shifts subtly. Softer tones and slower melodies appear during moments involving the rescued children or reflections on Tyler's past. These musical changes are not overly sentimental. They are restrained and controlled. This restraint prevents the film from becoming melodramatic. The music supports emotion without forcing it. Another important aspect of the sound design is how it captures physical fatigue. You can hear Tyler's breathing grow heavier during prolonged fights. His footsteps become slower. The strain in his voice becomes more noticeable. These audio details reinforce the idea that he is human and vulnerable. Sound becomes part of character development. Environmental sound also plays a major role. The cold wind in snowy landscapes, the distant rumble of city traffic, and the mechanical hum of industrial spaces all contribute to atmosphere. These background sounds create depth. They remind the audience that the story takes place in a real world with layered environments. The final confrontation uses sound effectively to heighten tension. Music builds gradually, then pulls back at key moments to emphasize physical impacts. The balance between score and raw sound effects creates a powerful climax. When the film ends, the resolution feels earned not just visually but sonically. Overall, the sound design and music in Extraction 2 work together to enhance realism and emotional engagement. The film avoids exaggerated audio effects and instead focuses on layered, grounded soundscapes. The score supports tension and reflection without overwhelming scenes. Together, these elements create a fully immersive experience where viewers feel every hit, every breath, and every moment of silence. The production design of Extraction 2 plays a critical role in building the film's grounded and immersive world. While the action and performances carry the emotional weight, the environments give that action meaning. Every location in the film feels lived in, functional, and realistic. The production design team focuses on authenticity rather than spectacle, creating spaces that look harsh, dangerous, and believable. These carefully constructed environments support the tone of the story and reflect the emotional journey of the characters. One of the most important locations in the film is the Georgian prison where the central rescue mission takes place. The prison is not portrayed as a stylized movie set. Instead, it feels industrial, cold, and overcrowded. The concrete walls are worn and stained. Metal railings look rusted and heavy. The yard is cluttered and chaotic. The design emphasizes confinement and tension. Every corridor appears narrow and restrictive, which increases the feeling of danger during the escape sequence. The prison's architecture is designed to support both narrative and action choreography. Multiple levels, staircases, walkways, and open yards allow the camera to move fluidly during the extended one-shot sequence. The layout feels complex but not confusing. This balance ensures that the audience understands the geography while still feeling overwhelmed by the scale. The design team had to carefully plan these spaces so that stunt performers, camera operators, and actors could move seamlessly through them. Beyond the prison, the film uses snowy landscapes and Eastern European urban settings to create atmosphere. The cold weather environments add emotional depth. Snow-covered grounds and gray skies visually reinforce the film's darker tone. These locations feel isolated and unforgiving. The white snow contrasts sharply with blood and fire during action scenes, making violence stand out even more intensely. Urban locations are also designed with realism in mind. Streets are not overly glamorous or polished. Buildings look practical and slightly worn. Industrial areas feature metal structures, warehouses, and train yards that feel functional rather than decorative. These settings make the action sequences feel grounded in reality. Nothing looks artificially constructed for visual beauty alone. Everything appears to serve a real-world purpose. Safe houses and interior spaces also reflect character dynamics. Tyler Rake's cabin at the beginning of the film is simple and remote. It feels quiet and disconnected from society. The design of this space emphasizes his isolation and emotional distance. There are no luxurious details or flashy decorations. The simplicity mirrors his stripped-down mindset. Later interior spaces, including apartments and meeting locations, maintain this realistic approach. Furniture, lighting, and layout feel practical. The production design avoids excessive stylization. This choice strengthens immersion because viewers never feel like they are watching a staged environment. Instead, it feels like stepping into real spaces where real people live and operate. Vehicles in the film are also carefully selected and integrated into the production design. Armored vehicles, prison transport buses, trains, and helicopters all appear functional and grounded. They do not feel exaggerated or futuristic. The design team ensures that these vehicles match the world's tone. They look used and practical, reinforcing the gritty aesthetic. Costume design works closely with production design to enhance realism. Tyler's clothing is practical and worn. His tactical gear appears functional rather than decorative. The rescued family's clothing reflects their situation, showing signs of hardship and confinement. Antagonists wear outfits that suggest power and authority without becoming cartoonish. These wardrobe choices blend seamlessly into the environments. Lighting within the sets is also carefully considered. Prison interiors use harsh, overhead lighting that casts strong shadows. This creates tension and visual contrast. Outdoor scenes use natural lighting as much as possible, enhancing authenticity. The combination of practical lighting and detailed set construction gives the film a documentary-like feel during action sequences. Another strength of the production design is how it supports large-scale choreography. During the train sequence and final confrontation, the environments allow for movement, cover, and dynamic blocking. These spaces are not random. They are engineered to support storytelling while maintaining believability. Overall, the production design, sets, and locations in Extraction 2 contribute significantly to its grounded tone. The prison feels oppressive and real. The snowy landscapes feel isolating. Urban environments feel functional and lived in. Every space supports the story's emotional and physical intensity. Rather than distracting from the action, the production design strengthens immersion and realism, making the world of Tyler Rake feel tangible and dangerous. Extraction 2 stands out in modern action cinema because of its careful balance between visual effects and practical effects. In a time when many large-scale action films rely heavily on computer-generated imagery, this movie takes a different approach. It prioritizes practical stunt work, real explosions, physical choreography, and on-location shooting, while using visual effects to enhance rather than replace reality. This balance creates a grounded and immersive experience that feels intense without becoming artificial. Practical effects are the foundation of the film's action sequences. Director Sam Hargrave, with his background in stunt coordination, places strong emphasis on physical realism. Many of the fight scenes are performed with real stunt performers and actors in controlled but authentic environments. When Tyler Rake throws a punch, it feels heavy because the movement is real. When he crashes through glass or falls to the ground, the impact looks genuine because it often is. Explosions and fire effects in the film are largely practical. During the prison escape sequence, vehicles burn, debris scatters, and flames spread in a controlled but realistic way. Instead of relying solely on digital fire, the production team used real pyrotechnics whenever possible. This adds texture and unpredictability to the visuals. Fire reflects naturally on faces and surfaces, making scenes feel more intense and believable. The extended one-shot prison escape is a perfect example of how practical and visual effects work together. On the surface, the scene appears to be filmed in one continuous take. While much of the action is practical and physically staged, visual effects are used to blend hidden cuts seamlessly. Digital stitching ensures that transitions between different sections of the sequence are invisible to the audience. This combination allows the film to achieve a technically complex sequence without losing realism. Visual effects are also used to expand environments. Some exterior prison shots, cityscapes, and background elements are digitally enhanced to create scale. Instead of building massive structures entirely from scratch, the production team combined practical sets with digital extensions. For example, upper prison levels or distant urban backdrops may be enhanced through CGI. However, because the base structures are real, the digital additions blend naturally. Helicopter sequences and moving vehicle shots also use a mix of practical filming and digital support. Actors may perform inside real vehicles, while certain dangerous elements are enhanced digitally for safety and precision. The goal is not to create fantasy spectacle but to increase tension without risking unnecessary harm. Visual effects ensure that explosions, crashes, and large-scale destruction appear dramatic while remaining safe to execute. One of the strengths of the film's visual effects is restraint. The movie does not overload scenes with excessive digital elements. CGI is used as a tool, not as the main attraction. This restraint prevents the film from feeling exaggerated. Tyler Rake is portrayed as human, and the effects support that grounded tone. When he is injured, the wounds and blood effects appear realistic rather than stylized. Practical makeup effects are also important. Bruises, cuts, and physical damage accumulate on characters throughout the story. Instead of resetting their appearance after each fight, the film shows visible wear and tear. This continuity strengthens immersion. Tyler's face and body reflect the cost of each confrontation. Makeup and prosthetics work closely with stunt choreography to ensure that injuries look authentic. The train sequence later in the film demonstrates how visual effects enhance practical work. Real train cars and physical sets are used for interior shots. However, digital enhancements are applied to create motion, environment depth, and large-scale action outside the train. This blending of physical and digital elements allows for dynamic scenes without sacrificing realism. Weather effects also combine practical and digital techniques. Snow and environmental conditions are sometimes enhanced digitally to maintain continuity and visual consistency. However, many scenes are shot in real cold environments, giving actors authentic physical reactions to the setting. Overall, Extraction 2 succeeds because it respects the power of practical filmmaking while embracing the support of modern visual effects technology. The practical stunts give weight and authenticity. The digital enhancements expand scale and smooth technical transitions. Together, they create action that feels immersive rather than artificial. The result is a film where every explosion, fall, and confrontation carries physical presence and emotional impact. The screenplay of Extraction 2, written by Joe Russo, takes a focused and disciplined approach to storytelling. While the film is widely known for its large-scale action sequences, the script plays an equally important role in shaping character depth, emotional tension, and narrative clarity. The dialogue is not overly complex or poetic. Instead, it is sharp, direct, and grounded in realism. This simplicity works in the film's favor, especially considering the intense and dangerous world in which the characters operate. One of the most noticeable qualities of the dialogue is restraint. Characters do not deliver long speeches or dramatic monologues. Conversations are often brief and purposeful. This reflects the personalities of the main characters, especially Tyler Rake. He is not a talkative hero. He communicates through actions more than words. When he speaks, his lines are short and controlled. This minimalistic style reinforces his emotional distance and internal struggle. The screenplay uses silence effectively. In many scenes, what is not said carries as much weight as spoken words. During recovery scenes at the beginning of the film, Tyler's lack of dialogue highlights his mental state. His silence suggests reflection, regret, and uncertainty. Instead of explaining his emotions directly, the script allows viewers to interpret his feelings through behavior and expression. When dialogue is present, it often reveals character relationships. The exchanges between Tyler and Nick Khan show mutual respect and trust. Their conversations are practical but layered with understanding. Nick challenges Tyler without becoming emotional or dramatic. The script avoids turning their dynamic into forced romance. Instead, it presents a partnership built on shared experience and loyalty. The script also handles exposition carefully. Instead of overwhelming the audience with complex backstories or technical explanations, information is delivered naturally within conversations. When the new mission is introduced, the details are clear but not over-explained. This keeps the narrative moving without slowing momentum. One of the strengths of the screenplay is how it integrates emotional themes into action-driven dialogue. For example, moments involving the rescued children introduce subtle discussions about family, responsibility, and choice. These lines are simple but meaningful. The script does not become sentimental or preachy. Instead, it allows emotional weight to emerge through context. The antagonist dialogue also reflects grounded writing. Zurab, driven by revenge, does not rely on exaggerated villain speeches. His words are controlled, direct, and personal. When he speaks, it is often about loyalty and honor. This gives him motivation beyond generic evil intent. The screenplay avoids cartoonish villain cliches, which strengthens tension. Humor in Extraction 2 is minimal and understated. There are occasional dry remarks, usually delivered by Tyler or supporting characters, but they do not interrupt the serious tone. The script understands that the world of this film is harsh and violent. Excessive jokes would undermine the tension. By keeping humor subtle, the screenplay maintains consistency. Pacing within dialogue scenes is also carefully managed. Conversations are concise. Scenes rarely linger longer than necessary. The script ensures that every exchange serves a purpose, either advancing the plot or revealing character depth. This efficiency keeps the film tight and focused. Another important element of the screenplay is its emotional continuity. Tyler's past trauma is not forgotten. References to his ex-wife and his lost son are woven naturally into the narrative. These references are not heavy-handed. Instead, they provide context for his decisions. The script respects the audience's intelligence by trusting them to remember and connect these details. The final act demonstrates how dialogue supports resolution. The conversations leading to the climax are direct and intense. There is no excessive explanation. The confrontation feels inevitable because the script builds motivation clearly throughout the story. Overall, the screenplay of Extraction 2 prioritizes clarity, realism, and emotional restraint. The dialogue is simple but effective. It supports character development without overshadowing action. By avoiding unnecessary complexity and dramatic exaggeration, the script maintains a grounded tone that matches the film's visual and thematic style. The result is a story that feels focused, purposeful, and emotionally authentic. Extraction 2 firmly belongs to the action thriller genre, But what makes it stand out is how confidently it executes genre expectations while maintaining tonal consistency. Many action sequels struggle to balance spectacle with emotional depth, often leaning too far into exaggerated heroics or losing focus on character. This film avoids that trap. It understands its genre identity and works within it carefully, delivering high-intensity action while preserving realism and emotional weight. At its core, Extraction 2 is a grounded action thriller. The film does not attempt to transform its protagonist into a superhero figure. Tyler Rake remains human, vulnerable, and physically limited. This grounded approach is a key part of its genre execution. The fights are brutal and physical. Gunfights are chaotic and dangerous. Injuries matter. Characters show fatigue and pain. These elements anchor the movie in realism, separating it from fantasy-driven action films. The thriller aspect of the genre is equally important. The story builds tension gradually rather than relying only on explosions. The prison infiltration and escape are structured with suspense in mind. There is anticipation before violence erupts. The audience understands the risks and potential consequences. This creates a sense of danger that feels real rather than staged. Tone is handled with discipline throughout the film. Extraction 2 maintains a serious and intense atmosphere from beginning to end. It does not swing wildly between comedy and drama. While there are occasional dry remarks, humor is minimal and subtle. This tonal consistency strengthens immersion. Viewers are not pulled out of the experience by sudden shifts into lighthearted moments. The opening act sets a reflective tone. Tyler's recovery and isolation create a somber mood. The pacing is slower, allowing emotional weight to settle. This beginning signals that the film will explore deeper themes alongside action. When the mission begins, the tone shifts into urgency, but it does not become exaggerated. The action feels controlled and purposeful. The prison escape sequence represents a peak in intensity. Here, the tone becomes chaotic and relentless. However, even at its most explosive moments, the film avoids glamorizing violence. The camera stays grounded. The sound design emphasizes realism. Characters react to danger with fear and urgency. This keeps the tone aligned with the thriller genre rather than drifting into spectacle-driven fantasy. After this high point, the film briefly shifts into a quieter and more emotional tone. The rescued family members process trauma. Tyler reflects on his responsibilities. These slower scenes are not tonal contradictions. Instead, they are necessary contrasts that allow tension to reset before rising again. The film uses these tonal adjustments carefully, never abandoning its serious atmosphere. The antagonist's presence reinforces the thriller tone. Zurab is not portrayed as a theatrical villain. His motivation is personal and grounded in revenge. His controlled anger maintains tension without introducing melodrama. This choice prevents the tone from becoming exaggerated. Another important aspect of genre execution is escalation. Extraction 2 follows a classic action thriller structure where stakes increase gradually. Each major sequence builds upon the previous one. The prison escape leads to pursuit. The pursuit leads to confrontation. This escalation feels natural rather than forced. The film also avoids overcomplicating its narrative with unnecessary subplots. By focusing on a central mission and emotional arc, it maintains clarity. This tight focus supports the thriller genre, where momentum and tension are essential. Overall, Extraction 2 demonstrates strong genre discipline. It delivers intense action without sacrificing realism. It maintains a consistent serious tone while allowing subtle emotional shifts. It balances spectacle with grounded storytelling. By respecting the conventions of the action thriller genre and executing them with precision, the film creates a cohesive and immersive experience. Extraction may second appear on the surface to be a high-intensity action thriller, but beneath the gunfire and explosions lies a story built around strong emotional themes. The film explores redemption, family, responsibility, survival, loyalty, and the psychological cost of violence. These themes give weight to the action and transform the movie from a simple rescue mission into a deeper character journey. The most central theme in Extraction 2 is redemption. Tyler Rake begins the film as a man who survived death but does not know what to do with his second chance. In the first film, he was driven by guilt over the loss of his son. That grief shaped his reckless behavior. In this sequel, survival forces him to confront the idea that living requires purpose. His new mission is not just another job. It is an opportunity to make a different choice. By risking his life to save a family connected to his past, he seeks a form of emotional redemption. The film suggests that redemption is not about erasing past mistakes, but about choosing to act differently in the present. Family is another powerful theme running through the story. The rescue mission centers on freeing a mother and her children from a violent and controlling environment. The idea of protecting family members drives both the hero and the villain. Tyler fights to save children who are trapped in danger. Zurab fights to avenge his brother. Both characters are motivated by loyalty to family, but they express that loyalty in opposite ways. This contrast highlights how love and loyalty can either protect or destroy, depending on how they are expressed. Responsibility is closely connected to redemption. Tyler is no longer a man who fights only for money or adrenaline. His involvement in the mission is personal. He understands that his actions affect others. The film shows him stepping into the role of protector rather than lone warrior. He shields the children, absorbs violence on their behalf, and makes strategic decisions with their safety in mind. This shift demonstrates growth. Responsibility replaces recklessness. Survival itself is also examined as a theme. In many action films, survival is treated as a simple victory. In Extraction 2, survival is complicated. Tyler survived what should have killed him, but survival alone did not bring peace. The film asks whether living without purpose is truly living at all. Through the mission, Tyler begins to redefine survival as something tied to connection and protection rather than isolation. The psychological cost of violence is another underlying message. The film does not glamorize brutality. Characters are physically injured and emotionally strained. The children experience trauma. Even the antagonist's actions are driven by grief and anger. Violence is portrayed as destructive rather than heroic. The story suggests that while violence may be necessary in certain circumstances, it leaves scars that cannot easily be erased. Loyalty plays a significant role as well. Nick and Yaz demonstrate loyalty to Tyler and to each other. Their willingness to stand beside him reflects trust built over time. Loyalty is shown as a strength when rooted in integrity and mutual respect. In contrast, Zurab's loyalty to his brother becomes obsessive and destructive. The film presents loyalty as powerful but potentially dangerous if it overrides reason. Another theme present in the story is choice. Several characters face decisions that shape their futures. Sandro, the young boy caught between loyalty to his father and fear of violence, represents the struggle between inherited identity and personal choice. The film subtly suggests that the next generation is not bound to repeat the same mistakes. Choices matter, even in harsh environments. Isolation versus connection is also explored. At the start of the film, Tyler is isolated physically and emotionally. By the end, he is more connected to others. The film implies that isolation leads to emptiness, while connection provides meaning. Overall, Extraction 2 carries strong thematic depth beneath its action surface. It tells a story about second chances, the meaning of family, the burden of violence, and the importance of responsibility. These themes give emotional weight to every fight and every decision, making the story more than just a mission. It becomes a journey toward purpose. Extraction may second present itself as a straightforward action thriller, but beneath the surface it contains subtle symbolism and layered meanings that deepen its emotional impact. The film does not rely on heavy metaphors or complicated imagery. Instead, it uses environments, physical conditions, and character choices as symbolic reflections of internal struggles. These hidden meanings enrich the story and give viewers more to think about beyond the visible action. One of the most powerful symbolic elements in the film is survival itself. Tyler Rake surviving the events of the previous movie represents more than physical endurance. His survival symbolizes unfinished purpose. At the beginning of Extraction 2, he is alive but emotionally empty. This condition reflects the idea that surviving trauma does not automatically heal it. His recovery process is symbolic of rebirth. He must rebuild his body and mind before he can move forward. The slow rehabilitation scenes are not just about physical healing. They symbolize the painful process of rebuilding identity after loss. The snowy landscapes and cold environments serve as visual symbolism for Tyler's emotional state. Snow often represents isolation and emotional numbness. Throughout much of the film, the color palette remains cold and muted. This reflects Tyler's internal detachment. He is distant from others and from himself. The harsh weather conditions mirror the emotional harshness he carries inside. As the story progresses and he reconnects with purpose, moments of warmth, often represented through fire and explosions, briefly interrupt the cold tones. These flashes of warmth symbolize sparks of renewed meaning. The prison setting also carries symbolic weight. Prisons represent confinement and lack of freedom. While the mission is to extract a family from physical imprisonment, Tyler himself is symbolically imprisoned by his past guilt and grief. As he fights to free others from literal confinement, he begins to confront his own emotional captivity. The prison escape sequence is not only a rescue operation. It symbolizes breaking free from cycles of violence and regret. Fire appears repeatedly throughout the film. During the prison escape and later action sequences, flames dominate the screen. Fire can symbolize destruction, but it can also represent purification and transformation. In Extraction 2, fire often appears at moments of intense conflict. These moments symbolize the burning away of old limitations. Tyler walks through fire and chaos, suggesting that transformation requires enduring destruction. The character of Sandro represents generational choice. He is caught between loyalty to his criminal father and the possibility of a different path. Symbolically, he represents the future. His internal conflict reflects the broader theme of breaking cycles. The film suggests that violence can be inherited, but it does not have to be permanent. Sandro's choices symbolize hope for change. Zurab, the antagonist, symbolizes obsession with revenge. His transformation from calculated leader to emotionally driven avenger reflects the destructive power of unresolved grief. While Tyler seeks redemption through protection, Zurab seeks meaning through retaliation. Their conflict symbolizes two different responses to loss. One chooses responsibility. The other chooses vengeance. Weapons themselves also hold symbolic meaning. Tyler is skilled with firearms and combat tools, but the film avoids glorifying them. Weapons symbolize his identity as a soldier. However, as the story progresses, the focus shifts slightly toward protection rather than aggression. The way he uses force changes in intention, symbolizing growth. Mirrors and reflections appear subtly in certain scenes, especially during recovery. These moments symbolize self-examination. Tyler must confront who he is and what he wants to become. The film does not draw heavy attention to these visual cues, but they quietly reinforce his internal struggle. The repeated theme of crossing borders, physical and emotional, also carries meaning. Tyler travels across countries to complete his mission. Symbolically, he crosses boundaries within himself. He moves from isolation to connection, from guilt to responsibility. Overall, the symbolism in Extraction 2 is understated but meaningful. Survival represents rebirth. Snow symbolizes emotional numbness. Prison reflects internal confinement. Fire suggests transformation. Sandro represents generational choice. Zurab embodies destructive revenge. These layered meanings add emotional depth to the action and allow the film to communicate powerful ideas without overt explanation. Extraction 2 is primarily an action thriller, but beneath the intense combat sequences and rescue missions, the film quietly reflects several social and cultural themes. It does not present direct political speeches or obvious commentary. Instead, it embeds its ideas within character motivations, power structures, and the environments in which the story unfolds. These subtle layers offer insight into issues like organized crime, cycles of violence, family power dynamics, trauma, and the global nature of conflict. One of the most noticeable social elements in the film is its portrayal of organized crime as a parallel power system. The Georgian crime syndicate at the center of the story operates almost like a shadow government. The prison environment suggests corruption and influence that extend beyond legal boundaries. This reflects a broader commentary on how criminal organizations can gain power in unstable systems. The film does not dive deeply into political explanations, but it clearly presents a world where official authority is either compromised or ineffective. This creates a setting where private operatives like Tyler Rake exist in the space between law and chaos. The movie also touches on the concept of inherited violence. Sandro, the young boy caught between loyalty to his imprisoned father and fear of the violent world around him, represents a larger social issue. Children growing up in environments dominated by crime often face limited choices. The film subtly questions whether violence is a destiny or a learned behavior. Sandro's internal conflict symbolizes the possibility of breaking generational cycles. This reflects a broader social concern about how environment shapes identity. Family power structures are another cultural element explored in the story. The antagonist's motivation is rooted in loyalty to his brother. The criminal organization is portrayed as a family-based hierarchy where loyalty is valued above morality. This highlights how cultural concepts of honor and family pride can be twisted when combined with crime and control. At the same time, Tyler's mission is also driven by family ties. The contrast suggests that family itself is not inherently good or bad. It depends on how that loyalty is expressed. The film also reflects on the privatization of warfare. Tyler Rake operates as a mercenary, not a soldier tied to one nation. This reflects a modern reality where private military contractors and black ops teams often function outside traditional state control. The story does not directly criticize or defend this system, but it presents it as a practical reality in a globalized world. The existence of such operatives raises quiet questions about accountability and moral boundaries in modern conflict. Culturally, Extraction 2 portrays Eastern European environments with a sense of realism rather than caricature. The locations are shown as complex and grounded. The film avoids exaggerated stereotypes, focusing instead on individual characters and specific power dynamics. While it centers on a crime syndicate, it does not suggest that entire cultures are defined by violence. This careful handling prevents the setting from becoming a simplistic backdrop. Another subtle commentary involves trauma and masculinity. Tyler Rake represents a traditional action hero archetype, physically strong, emotionally reserved, and skilled in combat. However, the film explores the psychological cost of that identity. His emotional isolation and struggle with grief challenge the idea that strength means suppressing pain. The story suggests that true strength may involve accepting responsibility and connection rather than remaining detached. The prison environment itself can be viewed as commentary on institutional systems. It is overcrowded, chaotic, and heavily influenced by criminal power. This setting symbolizes the failure of institutions to fully contain violence. It raises quiet questions about justice and control without directly addressing policy. The film also touches on global interconnectedness. The mission crosses borders and involves multiple nationalities. This reflects a modern world where crime and conflict are not confined to one region. The global scope suggests that violence and corruption operate on international levels, requiring equally global responses. Overall, Extraction 2 does not present loud political arguments. Instead, it offers subtle reflections on organized crime, generational cycles, family loyalty, privatized warfare, trauma, and institutional weakness. These themes exist beneath the surface of the action. They give the story social texture and make the world feel complex and believable without overwhelming the primary narrative focus. Extraction 2 delivers several powerful and unforgettable moments that define the film's identity. While the movie is filled with intense action from beginning to end, certain scenes stand out because of their technical brilliance, emotional depth, or narrative importance. These sequences are not only visually impressive but also meaningful to the characters' journeys. They are the moments that audiences remember long after the credits roll. One of the most impactful scenes occurs at the very beginning during Tyler Rake's recovery. Instead of opening with explosive action, the film shows him physically broken and emotionally drained. Watching Tyler struggle through rehabilitation is powerful because it presents vulnerability rarely seen in traditional action heroes. The slow pacing, the heavy breathing, and the visible pain remind viewers that survival has consequences. This quiet beginning sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. The prison infiltration and escape sequence is undoubtedly the most memorable action scene in the film. Presented as a continuous shot, this extended sequence moves through prison cells, staircases, rooftops, and chaotic yard fights without visible cuts. The technical execution alone makes it extraordinary. However, what truly makes it impactful is the emotional urgency behind it. Tyler is not fighting for money or ego. He is protecting children. The combination of technical achievement and emotional motivation transforms this sequence into one of the most discussed action scenes in recent years. Within that prison escape, several specific moments stand out. One is when Tyler moves through a burning vehicle while shielding the children. Flames surround him, and chaos erupts in every direction. The visual of him walking through fire symbolizes transformation and sacrifice. Another memorable moment is the rooftop confrontation where gunfire and helicopter blades intensify the tension. The continuous movement of the camera makes viewers feel trapped inside the danger. Another powerful scene occurs during the aftermath of the prison escape, when the rescued family begins to process what they have experienced. The emotional tension in these quieter moments is significant. Sandro's confusion and fear, combined with Tyler's silent watchfulness, create a layered interaction. These scenes show that the trauma of violence does not end when the fighting stops. They provide emotional grounding between action sequences. The train sequence later in the film is also highly memorable. As Tyler and his team attempt to move the family to safety, the confined environment of the train increases tension. The narrow corridors create close-quarters combat that feels immediate and dangerous. The movement of the train adds instability, making every fight more unpredictable. This scene is impactful because it escalates the stakes while maintaining clarity and realism. The confrontation between Tyler and Zurab near the climax is another defining moment. This is not just a physical fight. It represents opposing philosophies. Tyler fights to protect and move forward. Zurab fights to avenge and cling to the past. Their battle carries emotional weight because it reflects the themes of redemption versus revenge. The choreography remains grounded, emphasizing brutality rather than spectacle. A quieter but meaningful scene involves Tyler speaking briefly about his past and his son. These moments are not long, but they are important. They remind viewers of the emotional foundation behind his actions. The restraint in dialogue makes the scene more impactful. Instead of dramatic speeches, the emotion is expressed through tone and expression. The final scenes of the film also leave a lasting impression. Without revealing excessive detail, the ending suggests that Tyler's journey is not complete. The atmosphere is reflective rather than celebratory. This choice reinforces the idea that redemption is ongoing. The story does not end with triumph, but with possibility. Overall, the most impactful scenes in Extraction 2 combine technical mastery with emotional depth. From the vulnerable recovery opening to the immersive prison escape, from the tense train battle to the final confrontation, each major sequence contributes to the film's identity. These moments resonate because they are not empty spectacle. They are driven by character motivation and thematic meaning. Extraction 2 fits within a modern wave of grounded, high-intensity action films that focus on realism, physical choreography, and emotionally damaged protagonists. When comparing it to similar movies, clear connections can be seen with franchises like John Wick, The Raid, and even parts of the Jason Bourne series. At the same time, Extraction 2 maintains its own identity through its emphasis on long-take sequences and emotional redemption. One of the most obvious comparisons is to the John Wick series. Both franchises center on highly skilled operatives who operate within underground networks. Like John Wick, Tyler Rake is a professional with a reputation for surviving impossible missions. Both characters are driven by personal loss, and both stories explore the consequences of violence. However, there are important differences. John Wick leans into stylized action, choreographed gun-fu sequences, and a mythic criminal underworld with formal rules and codes. Extraction 2, in contrast, emphasizes raw realism. The fights are messy. The environments feel less polished. Tyler's world is not built around ritual or symbolism but around survival and practicality. Another strong comparison can be made to the Raid films, particularly because of the intense prison and close-quarters combat sequences. The Raid is known for its brutal hand-to-hand choreography and relentless pacing. Extraction 2 shares that commitment to physical intensity. The prison escape scene echoes the claustrophobic energy found in the Raid. However, Extraction 2 adds emotional context to its action. While the Raid focuses heavily on combat spectacle, Extraction 2 ties its violence directly to themes of family and redemption. The Bourne series also offers an interesting point of comparison. Jason Bourne, like Tyler Rake, is a highly trained operative with a complicated past. Both characters are physically capable but emotionally burdened. The Bourne films emphasize espionage, identity, and political conspiracy. Extraction 2 stays more focused on personal stakes and direct action. It does not dive deeply into government corruption or intelligence systems. Instead, it keeps its lens tightly on the mission and character relationships. Looking at director Sam Hargrave's previous work provides additional context. Hargrave directed the first Extraction film in 2020. That movie introduced his signature style of immersive long takes and grounded action. The first film's extended chase sequence in Dhaka became one of its defining moments. Extraction 2 builds upon that foundation and expands it. The prison escape sequence in the sequel is more ambitious, more technically complex, and more emotionally driven. It demonstrates Hargrave's growth as a director and his confidence in executing large-scale choreography. Hargrave's background as a stunt coordinator also connects him to action films where practical effects are prioritized. Many blockbuster movies rely heavily on CGI spectacle. In contrast, Extraction 2 aligns more closely with action films that value physical performance. This approach places it alongside movies that emphasize realism over fantasy. Compared to other Netflix action releases, Extraction 2 stands out in terms of production scale and technical precision. While streaming platforms often produce action films with limited theatrical ambition, this sequel feels cinematic. Its visual scope, choreography, and immersive sequences rival major theatrical releases. Another comparison can be drawn with Man on Fire, where a hardened operative protects a child and seeks redemption through violence. Both films explore themes of guilt and second chances. However, Extraction 2 focuses less on revenge and more on protection and responsibility. Ultimately, Extraction 2 exists within a tradition of modern grounded action films but distinguishes itself through its immersive cinematography, emotional restraint, and emphasis on redemption. It borrows elements from its predecessors but refines them through Sam Hargrave's stunt-driven vision. The result is a film that feels familiar in genre but unique in execution. The ending of Extraction 2 is more than just the conclusion of a high-stakes mission. It serves as the emotional resolution of Tyler Rake's internal journey while also opening the door to a larger world beyond the immediate story. While the film delivers intense action throughout, its final moments shift into reflection, consequence, and possibility. To fully understand the ending, it is important to examine both the physical outcome of the mission and the deeper emotional meaning behind it. In the final act, Tyler faces Zurab in a direct confrontation. This showdown represents more than a simple fight between hero and villain. Zurab embodies revenge and obsession, while Tyler represents protection and redemption. Both men are motivated by family, but their choices define their paths. Zurab seeks to avenge his brother's death at any cost. Tyler fights to protect innocent lives and prevent further destruction. The physical battle between them is brutal and grounded. There are no exaggerated superhero moves or flashy tricks. It is raw and exhausting. This mirrors the emotional weight behind the confrontation. Tyler is not fighting out of anger. He is fighting to stop a cycle of violence. When the conflict ends, it signals the closing of one chapter of chaos. However, the resolution is not celebratory. It feels heavy, reflecting the cost of everything that has happened. After the confrontation, Tyler's situation shifts. Instead of simply walking away as a victorious action hero, he faces consequences. His injuries and the aftermath of the mission reinforce that survival always carries a price. This reinforces one of the film's key themes: redemption is not instant or easy. It requires sacrifice and endurance. The rescued family's future also carries symbolic meaning. Sandro, in particular, represents a turning point. Throughout the film, he struggles with loyalty to his criminal father and fear of violence. By the end, his choices suggest the possibility of breaking away from that legacy. The film implies that cycles of violence are not inevitable. There is room for change, especially for the next generation. One of the most significant elements of the ending is the introduction of a new opportunity for Tyler. Without focusing on specific details, the final scenes hint at a larger network and future missions. This moment shifts the story from closure to expansion. It suggests that Tyler's journey is not complete. Instead of returning to isolation, he is given a new direction. This reflects growth. At the beginning of the film, he was uncertain about continuing his life as an operative. By the end, he has redefined his purpose. Thematically, the ending reinforces the idea of second chances. Tyler survived death once. Through this mission, he proves that his survival can mean something beyond personal guilt. He is no longer driven purely by grief. He now acts out of responsibility and connection. This transformation does not erase his past, but it gives his future new meaning. Another important aspect of the ending is its tone. It is not overly triumphant. There is no exaggerated celebration or dramatic victory speech. Instead, the mood remains serious and reflective. This tonal consistency aligns with the grounded style of the entire film. The story ends on a note of possibility rather than finality. In final interpretation, Extraction 2 concludes by showing that redemption is an ongoing process. Tyler Rake cannot undo his history, but he can choose how to move forward. The ending balances closure with expansion. It resolves the immediate conflict while suggesting that his story continues within a larger world. Ultimately, the ending emphasizes growth, responsibility, and the possibility of change. It transforms the film from a simple action sequel into a chapter of a continuing character journey. Extraction 2 was produced as a high-profile Netflix original film, and its budget reflects the platform's confidence in the franchise. While Netflix does not always publicly confirm exact production costs, industry estimates suggest that the film's budget was significantly higher than the first Extraction. Reports indicate that the sequel's production budget was likely between $65 and $100 million. This increase is visible on screen through larger action sequences, more complex stunt coordination, international filming locations, and advanced technical execution. Unlike traditional theatrical releases, Extraction 2 did not follow the standard box office model. Because it premiered exclusively on Netflix, it did not generate ticket sales in cinemas worldwide. Instead, its financial success was measured through streaming performance, viewership hours, and subscriber engagement. This reflects a shift in how blockbuster films are evaluated in the streaming era. When Extraction 2 was released globally on Netflix in June 2023, it quickly climbed to the top of the platform's most-watched charts. Within its first week, the film reportedly accumulated tens of millions of viewing hours. It debuted at #1 in multiple countries and maintained strong performance across international markets. These numbers demonstrated that the franchise had built a loyal global audience since the release of the first film in 2020. Netflix measures success primarily through total hours viewed rather than individual ticket purchases. By that standard, Extraction 2 performed strongly. It ranked among the platform's most-watched English-language films of the year. Its consistent performance across regions highlighted its international appeal. The film's action-driven narrative, combined with Chris Hemsworth's global recognition, contributed to its widespread popularity. critical reception for Extraction 2 was generally positive, especially in comparison to many streaming action sequels. Critics praised the technical ambition of the extended one-shot prison escape sequence. Many reviewers described that scene as one of the most impressive action set pieces in recent years. The choreography, camera movement, and stunt work received particular recognition. Reviewers also noted improvements over the first film. While the original Extraction was praised for action but sometimes criticized for thin character development, the sequel was seen as more emotionally layered. Critics appreciated the deeper exploration of Tyler Rake's personal journey. The balance between action and character growth was highlighted as a strength. However, not all reviews were entirely positive. Some critics felt that the story remained relatively straightforward and predictable. Others noted that the film followed familiar action genre patterns. Despite these criticisms, most agreed that the technical execution elevated the material. Even reviewers who found the narrative simple acknowledged the impressive craftsmanship. Audience reception was strong. Viewers praised the intense action, grounded fight choreography, and Chris Hemsworth's physical performance. Social media discussions frequently focused on the long-take sequence, with many viewers rewatching that scene multiple times. The immersive style became a major talking point, further boosting interest in the film. In terms of franchise impact, the strong reception and streaming numbers reinforced Netflix's investment in large-scale action properties. Extraction 2 demonstrated that streaming platforms could produce cinematic-quality action films capable of competing with theatrical releases in terms of spectacle and technical ambition. The success of the sequel also strengthened the possibility of future installments. Discussions about expanding the Extraction universe gained momentum following its release. The positive response suggested that audiences were ready to continue following Tyler Rake's journey. Overall, Extraction 2 proved financially and commercially successful within the streaming model. Its substantial budget translated into visible production value. Its strong viewership numbers confirmed global interest. Critically, it earned praise for its technical achievements and improved emotional depth. While not universally acclaimed as groundbreaking storytelling, it was widely recognized as one of the stronger action releases of 2023 in the streaming landscape. Extraction 2 is the kind of film that offers strong rewatch value, especially for viewers who appreciate detailed action choreography, immersive cinematography, and layered character development. While many action films rely purely on surprise and spectacle, this sequel provides enough technical precision and emotional depth to make multiple viewings worthwhile. Each time the film is revisited, new details in performance, camera movement, and thematic nuance become more noticeable. One of the biggest reasons for its rewatch value is the extended prison escape sequence. On a first viewing, this scene feels overwhelming in the best possible way. The continuous camera movement, the intense fight choreography, and the escalating chaos create an immersive experience. However, during a second or third viewing, audiences can pay closer attention to the technical craftsmanship behind it. The coordination between stunt performers, camera operators, and actors becomes more impressive with each rewatch. Hidden cuts, environmental transitions, and small character reactions are easier to appreciate when viewers are not simply focused on what happens next. The action scenes throughout the film also benefit from repeated viewings because of their clarity. Unlike action movies that use excessive quick cuts or shaky cameras, Extraction 2 allows viewers to see each movement clearly. This means that subtle details in choreography can be observed more closely. Viewers may notice how Tyler shifts his weight before striking, how the environment influences his tactics, or how exhaustion builds gradually. These physical details deepen appreciation for the performance and stunt work. Beyond action, the film's emotional elements gain strength upon revisiting. Tyler Rake's journey from isolation to renewed purpose carries more weight when the audience already knows where the story is heading. Early scenes of his recovery and hesitation become more meaningful when viewed in light of his final transformation. Subtle expressions, small pauses, and restrained dialogue take on deeper significance during repeat viewings. The thematic layers also add to rewatch value. The film explores redemption, responsibility, loyalty, and the cost of violence. On an initial viewing, the focus may be on survival and action. On later viewings, audiences may recognize the symbolic contrasts between Tyler and Zurab, the importance of Sandro's internal conflict, and the recurring visual motifs of cold and fire. These thematic connections reward attentive viewers. Another factor contributing to rewatch value is pacing. The film's wave-like rhythm, moving between intense action and quieter reflection, prevents fatigue. Because it does not remain at maximum intensity for the entire runtime, viewers can revisit it without feeling overwhelmed. The balance between spectacle and stillness makes it easier to engage with repeatedly. From an audience takeaway perspective, Extraction 2 delivers more than simple entertainment. It presents a story about second chances and the possibility of growth. Tyler Rake begins as a man who survived without purpose. By the end, he finds renewed meaning in protecting others. This arc sends a subtle message that survival alone is not enough. Purpose and responsibility give life direction. The film also encourages reflection on cycles of violence. Through Sandro's character, it suggests that individuals are not trapped by their environment. Choices matter. Breaking from destructive patterns is difficult, but possible. This idea resonates beyond the action genre. Additionally, the movie reinforces the value of loyalty built on trust rather than control. The partnership between Tyler, Nick, and Yaz demonstrates teamwork grounded in mutual respect. In contrast, Zurab's loyalty to family becomes destructive because it is driven by revenge. Overall, Extraction 2 offers strong rewatch value due to its technical craftsmanship, emotional depth, and thematic layering. It rewards both casual viewers seeking intense action and attentive audiences interested in character growth. The takeaway is clear. Redemption is a process, survival has cost, and purpose comes from protecting something greater than oneself. Extraction 2, released in 2023, is available exclusively on Netflix. Unlike traditional blockbuster films that premiere in theaters before moving to digital platforms, this movie was produced specifically as a Netflix original. That means the only official and legal way to watch it is through a Netflix subscription. It is not available for rent or purchase on other major streaming platforms, and it did not receive a wide theatrical release. To watch Extraction 2, viewers need an active Netflix subscription. Netflix offers multiple subscription plans depending on region, video quality preference, and device usage. Once subscribed, the film can be streamed instantly on a wide range of devices. These include smart TVs, laptops, desktop computers, gaming consoles, tablets, and smartphones. This flexibility allows viewers to choose the experience that suits them best. For the best viewing experience, watching Extraction 2 on a large screen with high definition or 4K resolution is recommended. The film's cinematography, production design, and large-scale action sequences are designed to feel immersive. The extended prison escape scene, in particular, benefits from a bigger display where viewers can fully appreciate the detailed choreography and camera movement. A high-quality television or monitor enhances the sharpness of visuals and depth of color, especially during snowy landscapes and nighttime action scenes. Sound quality is equally important when watching this film. Extraction 2 features powerful sound design with layered gunfire, explosions, and intense background scoring. Watching with a surround sound system or high-quality speakers adds depth to the experience. Even a good pair of headphones can significantly improve immersion by highlighting subtle audio details such as breathing, footsteps, and environmental sounds. Because it is a Netflix exclusive, the film can also be downloaded for offline viewing through the Netflix app. This option is helpful for viewers who want to watch while traveling or in areas with limited internet connectivity. Download quality can usually be selected within the app settings, depending on available storage and subscription plan. Netflix also offers multiple language options. Viewers can choose subtitles in various languages or switch to dubbed audio tracks if available in their region. This makes Extraction 2 accessible to a global audience. The film's action-driven storytelling works well across language barriers, as much of its emotional impact comes from visuals and physical performance rather than dialogue-heavy scenes. For viewers who have not seen the first Extraction film, It is also available on Netflix. Watching the original movie first provides valuable context about Tyler Rake's past, his emotional trauma, and the events that shape his mindset in the sequel. While Extraction 2 can stand on its own as a story, the emotional depth is stronger when both films are viewed in order. The film is rated TVMA due to strong violence and intense action sequences. This means it is intended for mature audiences. Parents should be aware of graphic fight scenes, gun violence, and emotionally heavy themes. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for younger audiences. Because Extraction 2 is part of a growing franchise, watching it on Netflix also allows viewers to stay updated on potential future installments or spin-offs. Netflix often promotes related content and new releases connected to successful titles. Keeping an eye on the platform's announcements can help fans stay informed about upcoming expansions of the Extraction universe. In summary, Extraction 2 is available exclusively on Netflix and can be streamed on multiple devices worldwide. For the best experience, viewers should watch in high resolution with quality sound equipment. The film's immersive visuals and intense sound design benefit greatly from a cinematic home setup. Whether streaming at home or downloading for offline viewing, Netflix provides flexible options to access the movie conveniently and legally. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gripping movie explanations like this.